I've played over 1,000 hours of Valheim, tried speedrunning, and talked to many of the best Valheim players in the business. From this experience, I've learned every single way to cheat game mechanics for an upper hand that maybe weren't quite intended by the developers. And today, I'm going to share all that knowledge so that you too can abuse every hack in Valheim, including whatever the heck is going on inside this box. But before that, if you learn how to animation cancel, you can take your damage output to a whole other level. Most weapons in Valheim perform combos of 3 attacks, with the third dealing twice the base damage. By animation canceling, you can expand this combo to 4, adding an additional double dealing attack in roughly the same amount of time. The first of 2 ways to execute this is to block cancel. To start, hold your block button and keep this held for the duration of the combo. Pay special attention to the block stance with your Viking holding his arms in front of his face. Approach your target and hit attack. Following the attack, your character will look to return to his block stance. The moment they bring their arms to their face, press and hold your attack button. If done perfectly, you will initiate another 3 attack combo with 2 of those attacks dealing double damage. The timing for this isn't very forgiving, so your best bet is to dive into the game and practice until you have a good feel for it. Alternatively, you can do the same, but instead of holding block, sneak instead. While crouched, you approach and attack. This time you'll attempt to return to the crouch stance, and just as you do, attack and hold again for the same 3 attack combo with 2 of them dealing double damage. These methods will work best with swords and maces, and just cover the basics for animation canceling in Valheim. If you want to learn more, check out this video by Pendragon. It's the absolute gold standard on the subject. Another underappreciated damage dealer is fire, most certainly the most unintended powerful weapon in Valheim. Whether you're fighting a boss or even a common enemy, fire is one of the rare damage types that can stack and grows exponentially if you can keep a foe within it. To illustrate with a brute, place a fire in their path as they walk toward you. Dodge roll in place to keep them in the fire, picking up additional ticks of burning, increasing the endured damage. Higher health enemies, on the other hand, may outlast the durability of the fire. To counteract this, change the keybind to something else, in my case T. This will allow you to dodge while using your hammer, so that you can repair the fire as it burns and maintain your ability to dodge. This practice can be extended to bosses like Elder or Yagluth by spamming fires and circling them, all while maintaining the fire durability with the hammer. Natural fires work too, like the circling spawners in the swamp, which can be used to take down Abomination quickly if luring them atop a geyser, or building a ramp for the Elder to climb atop his own flame. While the campfire can still be used against later biome creatures, its damage output begins to falter, which is where the bonfire comes in handy. These are best used against larger foes like Locks or even Seeker and Soldiers, where after placing, you can manipulate their movement side to side, forcing them to brush up against the flame. Bonfires like campfires can be used to cheese bosses like Moder and Yagluth as well by combining their powers with number 19 on this list that we'll cover in a bit. Another good way to avoid conflict is to leverage two-handed hammers' area of effect capabilities. When slamming a weapon like the Stag Breaker, Iron Sledge, or Demolisher, you do AOE damage to all things near you, even those protected by a wall. This works wonders when surrounded, like from raids, but is perhaps best used to bash bugs on the other sides of walls, like in the Mistlands infested mines. Better yet, ooze bombs, which like the hammer do area of effect damage, have the added benefit of not damaging the wooden barriers, maintaining the separation between you and the hive. You can take the hammer exploit further by damaging the queen through the wall in her arena. Another hack for the hammer is to detect metal beneath the earth. Typically reserved for the Wishbone, silver can be found by slamming the snow-covered ground. If you see the text "too hard," you can be certain silver will be found. Similarly, muddy scrap piles can be detected in the swamp's overworld in the same manner who most players believe can only be found in sunken crypts. And typically this is only required when skipping a boss like Bowmass, which is a cheat I often recommend to players. The reason being that certain raid events can only be triggered after defeating a specific boss, and some of the game's most annoying, like the Wolf and Drake, can only occur with Bowmass defeated. If you're fine running around without his Forsaken power and using the hammer to find silver, this can be an effective approach to avoid your least favorite raids. And if choosing to skip the Elder, this next cheat using a simple chair is a must. But before that, I've got the perfect deal for you this holiday season with today's video partner, Aniba. Aniba is a continuously expanding gaming marketplace with over 40,000 digital products, building to become the safest, most affordable, and sustainable go-to platform for all your gaming needs. They provide the hottest deals on any gaming title, old or new, and ranging from the latest massive AAA to your favorite indie. As an example, I've been keeping my eye on all the Game of the Year conversations, and today one of the candidates, Kingdom Come Deliverance, is on here for less than $10. Plus, as you can see, Aniba has you covered no matter your platform with deals on games from PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. But they offer far more than just games with a massive offering of gift cards for your favorite gaming platform. Considering the holidays are right around the corner, I might be loading up on gift cards to take advantage of the impending holiday sales. Not to mention the icing on the cake is that Aniba secures your payment methods and has your back with 24/7 live customer support to give you complete ease of mind. With the cost of seemingly everything going up, a marketplace like Aniba is exactly what you need. Grab yourself a deal today with one of my links in the video description or link comment below. But back to the chair. Yes, you can still get iron after skipping the Elder by using the infamous chair glitch. By using the Finewood chair, you can place it in such a way where it clips between sunken crypt gates. Once done, sit in the seat and you'll clip inside the dungeon. This also allows you to enter giant rocks like those found in the plains. Inside, you can build a portal or any kind of base structure you want in complete safety. You can even hit creatures outside without them being able to hit you. But perhaps best of all, you can use the chair to clip inside the sealed tower to skip the floors of fueling and defeat Zillan Thunger. You might want to make sure you have enough Finewood on you so that you can clip out once dealt with the mini-boss. Even more of a pain is often transporting all your mine materials, where switching worlds might be the hack for you. Back in 2021, when I first played Valheim, I couldn't be bothered to sail my iron back to my base, so I created another dedicated world just for storage. Once I gathered a full inventory of metal, I'd leave my world and log into my storage world, unload my inventory into chests, and go back to my main. From there, I'd teleport metalist to my base, switch back to the storage world, grab my metals, and log back into my main with all my metal at home. Okay, I'll admit this is incredibly cheesy, and at this point you might as well enable the transport of metals in your world modifiers. But hey, it's an option. Maybe you want to try an alternative method of travel than portals or boats. Once you've gathered the materials for the catapult, you can craft one at the top of the mountain, arm it with a rock, and hop on board. If positioned correctly, you'll be able to travel great distances in a short time. Obviously, make sure you have your feather cape on you, or your landing might not go so well for you. Another great way to reduce the resource grind is to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Well, at least reuse. To give an example, you'll need both a kiln and smelter to refine metal in the Black Forest, which each require 5 Surtling core. Instead, you can craft the kiln, make all the coal you need, then destroy the burner. Reclaim the same materials and place the smelter and fuel the refining of all your metal with your stockpile of coal. This way you can save the 5 Surtling core. Perhaps a better example are with boats and carts, which can be destroyed and transported. Sometimes when sailing you come across a long island where it might be faster to run across than sail. In this instance, dock your ship, break it with an axe, and carry the materials across the land for a quick portage. Materials are not lost when deconstructing in this game, so you'd be wise to take advantage of it. Naturally, you may have used a cart to haul your ore to a smelter, but you may have missed its other useful features. Normally, when trying to claim the Devagar extractor, you're going to anger the nearby dwarves, since the box is within the range of their protective ward. To destroy it and avoid the dwarven rage, construct a cart outside its radius. Pull it inside and push it into the ward. Make sure you sprint push the cart, otherwise this will take a long time. Once broken, you can build inside the structure freely and destroy anything within it in complete harmony. Alternatively, if you happen to have refined iter on hand already, you can toss a few of them on the ground. These green orbs periodically shoot projectiles, damaging things in the area. If near enough to the ward, after waiting a few minutes, enough will have hit it to take it down. Or you can do the same trick on the box directly if only interested in its contents. And that's not where it ends for carts, as they can be used to carry way more material than typically possible with a standard boat. If you fill a cart and drag it onto your Viking ship, you can sail with it all the way home, effectively doubling your carrying capacity or more if willing to try multiple carts. Typically, building a ramp up onto the boat is your best bet for boarding the ship, and for undocking, simply destroying the ship might be the path of least resistance. Iter can also do more than break wards and can be used as a weapon against bosses, at least as a supplementary damage source. Often used by speedrunners, if you have some iter handy, break its stack into individual items in your inventory before summoning a boss like Yagluth. As the light gathers to where Yag will ultimately spawn, toss each of your refined iter balls on the ground. From there, circle the boss while never letting it face you. All the while, the periodic iter projectiles will hit the boss and deal damage. Of course, this would take forever if you don't deal any of your own, but it can accelerate the boss fight. This is a strategy also commonly used against the Queen, where you can drop all kinds of iter outside the porch of the Queen's arena while exploiting them with the hammer like discussed previously. Heading into the Ashlands, I know it's intended for players to use the battering ram to break inside fortress inner columns, but there's a simpler and cheaper alternative. Instead, simply build a ladder or stair from its wall and climb to the peak of its tower. It's a bit janky getting inside with the spikes, but completely doable after a couple of attempts. Make sure you bring some wood with you, as you'll need some to build your way out. A simpler alternative perhaps is to just use the hoe to raise earth below you to get atop the column, as many people do to get into the fortress in the first place. The hoe itself makes for some of the best cheats in the game that all include functionality above what was probably intended by the developers. For one, use the hoe to elevate yourself above high structures. 2, increase your height quickly if suddenly rated for safety. 3, use it to raise terrain walls which are completely indestructible compared to the standard wall. Or 4, use it to make divots when climbing steep slopes for a rest or retrieve resources dropped in deep water. It's one of the most powerful tools in Valheim, despite its intended purpose to flatten Earth. Even the basic hammer has a simple hack that will make you faster navigating Valheim. Whether intentional or not, the hammer is the only weapon or tool in the entire game without a sheath animation. Normally when putting a weapon away, there is a shrug animation that must take place before you can begin to sprint. With movement speed penalties on most weapons, it's typically advantageous to run unarmed when possible. However, unequipping your weapon neutralizes that advantage. Instead, switch to your hammer in your hotbar and sheath it instead to avoid the shrug and get to sprinting right away. To save even more time, a favorite speedrunner trick is to use creatures to break objects in your environment you otherwise can't break without specific tools, or they can at least do so faster. The most famous example of this is with the Black Forest Troll. While dodging its attacks, the big blue boy can break copper nodes for you or even birch trees for fine wood, allowing you to access the material without the bronze axe. Another good example of this is in the Mistlands with Yggdrasil Chutes. Speedrunners can take advantage of the Seeker Soldier's attacks to break the biome's tree trunks without the need for crafting the black metal axe. An even faster way to farm resources is to use either the Ashland's Battering Ram or Troll Staff. The ram can be used to bash any resource node like giant stone in the plains or simply copper in the Black Forest. Even easier though is to summon a troll on top of the rock, completely obliterating it to save you all kinds of mining time. Cheesing your way out of damage is another practice speedrunners can employ to save at death. When hit with a status effect like poison or fire, a quick acting player can pause their game and log out. When logging back in, the status effect will be gone, saving the run. It does come with a downside though, like losing positive effects like rested. This can be used to save yourself from fall damage too, if logging out just before hitting the ground. When you log back in, you'll simply fall the remaining small distance without the damage. If logging out is too much, a less cheesy way to mitigate status effect damage is by entering a dungeon or portal, as the status timer will continue to progress while in the immunity providing animation. And now for what's inside the box. One of the overlooked mechanics of bosses is that they can attack what they cannot see. While a little more complicated than that, for the most part, if you're able to conceal your location from a boss, they won't be able to attack you, but they will be able to navigate to your location. One example of this is with Bowmass. Simply, if you place a series of floor pieces above your head, creating a ceiling off the giant's skull, he won't be able to see you. From there, he will approach and just stand there. All you gotta do now is swing without any stress whatsoever. Yagluth can be countered this way too, as we saw earlier by digging a hole and placing bonfires. Motor too if you place a pole and build a platform above you. Yet the best and ridiculously fastest approach is just to build a box enclosed around you. Once concealed, spam place ashwood stakes at the top of the wall piece in front of you. Motor won't be able to see you and shortly will land on top and whammo! The pile of overlapping stakes will absolutely crush the Queen Dragon. Yes, this does require you sneak ahead to the ashlands for their wood, and no, it sadly doesn't work with the regular and debagger stakes, but I think it's pretty neat. Big shout out to the speedrunning community, specifically Archie Too Cold and Expert Malfunction for showing me this one. But if cheating still isn't for you, I've still got you covered with my 25 best quality of life mods in this video, right here.